Okay, bet. I need to set up the audio.
The year is
Fuck.
2020. The global population stands at some 7.7 billion people, a number that may well double
Okay,
by
guys.
the end of the century. Humanity is now spread to cover almost every continent, has mapped every corner of the world, and has even made
Let's
its
find this
first tentative
warlock.
steps beyond our planet. More than half the world's people now live in cities or similar urban environments, marked by complicated social hierarchies and that rely on agriculture and vast bureaucracies to survive. Yet in the grand scheme of history, these complex societies came into existence only recently. At the peak of the last ice age, just some 20,000 years ago, the global population was perhaps as low as just 2 million people, less than 0.1% of what it is now. Human societies
Yeah, there should be a
consisted of widely
warlock here,
dispersed
right?
bands of
Did you kill him?
hunter-gatherers, who followed a lifestyle that had
Or
not
where he
changed
at,
greatly
though?
since the
I
appearance
don't
of
know.
recognizably modern humans some 30,000 years ago. Then, the world's population exploded. First, people began to settle in one place, then to farm crops and animals. Villages appeared, followed by towns and eventually cities.
Bro, I wonder, how does that even happen, though? Like, how did it all happen, like, during the same time, pretty much, you know? Like, people just, like, pick up sticks and stuff, and they were like, oh, we can, make plans, or, like, we can talk to the animals and stuff like that. Like, where people, like, just became smart at the same time or something, though? I'm just, I'm just wondering. I don't know.
The first temples were erected, and soon after came the first elites of humanity. Eventually, societies grew so complicated that whole new types of administration were required to keep them going, along with new forms of record keeping and correspondence. The result of all this was civilization, and over the last 5,000 years, it has come to shape the lives of almost every human on the planet. The speed at which complex human civilizations emerged across the planet is remarkable. For over 250,000 years, humanity remained nomadic in nature, following the seasons and migrating herds in search of food and useful resources.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's like crazy, right? They just all popped up like around the same time or something. Like, because people, what did they do before, bro? Like, were they just bums and stuff? Like, was the human experience like walking around and doing whatever? I'm not sure. I'll have to ask them sometime.
Vast changes in the global climate came and went, without any great alteration in this nomadic lifestyle. Then, after the easing of the last glacial maximum, humanity settled down into more permanent settlements. Over thousands of years, these settlements became ever more complex, and by 3000 BC, what can only be described as civilizations were appearing in several places around the globe.
What? How? Or he didn't even answer that though.
So, how did these civilizations emerge?
Oh,
What was it that drove mankind away from the hunter-gatherer lifestyle? Was it the result
let me see. Maybe like, bruh. Maybe the animals were getting too mean, right? Like they were like, oh, we can't even deal with this no more because they're like, didn't they used to live to like 12 years old or something like that? Like, bruh, imagine waking up and like your whole family got eaten by dogs or something. Like, bro, I would not want to be like a human back then, bro. Because like also they don't even got showers, bro. Like it was gross. Like they couldn't even shower and stuff. They didn't even have clothes. Oh, well, that lady has clothes right there. Maybe she's like the 1%, you know? Like she's the exception or something.
of the many changes
But I don't know. I'm just saying.
the Earth's climate has seen since the end of the last ice age, which would have forced human societies to change the way they functioned simply to survive?
Bro, don't we still live in an ice age, bruh? Like I heard this somewhere too, bruh. Like But how can we live in the ice age if there's not even like ice? Like where we at, bruh? There's like there isn't ice in the hood either. Like, are they in the ice age? Oh, but they got like jewelry and stuff, I guess. Huh.
Alternatively, did something change about humanity as a whole, which led them to the rapid adoption of agriculture and eventually the development of urban societies? The exact answer to many of these questions are still being debated by archaeologists. Despite this, it now seems that we can chart many of the major developments that led to the blueprints of the civilization that we see today. And over the course of this 3-episode series, we will do exactly that. We'll begin by examining the slow transition from late hunter-gatherers to societies wholly dependent on agriculture for survival. We'll chart the emergence of ever larger settlements and ritual centres,
Where's this guy's
along
skull?
with the at times macabre practices that
Oh
accompany
damn,
them.
that's scary, bruh.
Finally,
Damn. You can't even be shown that, bruh. Like without a warning or something. Like they gotta have like a beeping noise before showing something scary like that.
we'll take a look at the factors that led to the emergence of the world's first city, which contained the basic blueprint for all others to come. Before we can do any of this, however, we need to define what we actually mean when we say civilization. Perhaps the easiest way of defining a civilization would be an organised political state, one that is characterised by dense urban environments and that relies on
Oh my
agriculture
god, is it
to
down
feed its
here?
populace. Other criteria we can cite as required for civilization might include a visible social hierarchy, monumental building patterns, and the presence of administrative tools such as writing and literacy. When we try to apply these criteria to archaeology, however, and define exactly when these civilizations first emerged,
Bruh, like they could write back then, dude. Like, what did they even write, bruh? Because I thought like, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, like sometimes I look at languages and I think like they be writing stuff. I'm like, bruh, they're writing symbols and stuff. Or like hexes or something. I don't know. I'm not very smart. I don't know how to speak French or whatever, you know. But like, did the people back then even know how to speak French? Or like, what did they even speak, bro? Or like, how did they write, you know? And like, how did they learn this all at the same time is what I'm asking, bro. He better answer this in the 3-part, bro. Actually, I'm gonna go get some ginger pills. I'm about to eat some grub. What do we get? We got the bowl with guacamole, barbacoa, fajitas, chicken, mild tomatoes, sour cream cheese, and lettuce. Hey, bro, this is gonna be fire. I'll be right back. I'm gonna edit this out, you know, for the video and stuff. Don't worry, I'm gonna edit that out of the video.
we run into problems. That's because whilst many of these features are present within the societies that appeared in the millennia after the last ice age, often they are present in varying degrees of development. Some of these features, such as living in a settlement one year round, or harvesting the seeds of wild grains and grasses, appear relatively early in the picture, occurring well before the more systematic adoption of agriculture.
So, like, to an extent, societies pre-agriculture, like, like they experienced degrees of it before it became mainstream, bruh. So these people were like on the niche trends, bruh. Like these, like they were in the niche, bruh. That's crazy. And like, does this also apply to post-agriculture? Like, would some civilizations like not fully adopt it fast enough, or like they do it like periodically for some seasons and then go back to being nomadic or something, you know?
Others, such as complex social hierarchies, administration, and writing, arrive millennia later, only appearing long after their societies had become reliant on a farming economy and urbanized living.
Bro, that's a
So if we wish
skull.
to explore the processes that led
What?
to recognizable civilizations, where should we begin? According to the
That
current
guy's
weight
ugly
of
as hell.
archaeological evidence, complex societies emerged at several locations across the globe.
Oh my
These
god!
centres often been vastly separated by both distance and time. In each area, the appearance of these complex
What the hell?
societies was preceded by the adoption of agriculture, which developed independently in at least 6 different areas.
But that's crazy. How did the like? How did it all independently happen around the same time? You know, like there's got to be some conspiracy or something. You know, like they were talking about the alien people or something, or like lizard people. Like no, why no one be saying none about that? Like about them or something, bro. 'Cause, like lizard people are probably real. Like I've seen like a black people. I've seen a black people before, bruh. And some people don't put on lotion, bruh. Their skin gets like very ashy. They kind of look like a lizard, you know. Saw a black dude at a bench and he was smoking a pack and it was 6 p.m. And I went to the skate park and I came back and it was like 10 p.m., 11 p.m. He was still there smoking, bruh. And he asked me if I had $2 changed. And I was like, hey, bruh, like I don't even be changing like that, you know. But he was like, oh, hey, bro, it's fine. But like that guy was bloated, like his stomach, bro. Maybe he had parasites or something. He was also bald. He had glasses, I remember that. But he was on that bench for 4 hours. Like, how do you even do that, bro? Like, maybe I don't know. Maybe he does like Romanian deadlifts or something. Like, cause he like it was a bench, it was metal, bro. Like, I can't be comfortable to sit on after 30 minutes. Like, what are we doing? Yeah, whatever.
In Southeast Asia, this included the emergence and spread of farming along the Yangtze
Let's
and
get
Yellow
back to
River
school to
basins
the
of
guy.
China from around 7000 BC. Around the same time, agricultural villages were emerging along the banks of the Nile in Egypt, along with on
Damn.
the highlands of New Guinea. 2000
Bro, I heard about this and I found it crazy. So apparently Egypt is so old that it like apparently in Egypt itself, the archaeologists, so like in the beginning of Egypt or something, the archaeologists like they would study previous civilizations or something, right? But it came to a point in time in Egypt where archaeologists were literally studying Egypt, like ancient Egypt from within Egypt or something. I don't even know. Now that I think about it, it's like really not even that impressive or whatever. It's like China's been ancient for a moment. Like Chinese people probably study China, like ancient China and stuff. Like I be studying that sometimes, you know. Like I go on Google and I'm like what is some Chinese food that the people in China made back in the day? And also like didn't Chinese people like find Zaza and like they just call it Ma, right? They call it Mama. I know. I think they just call it Ma, but then it changed to Za. But I don't know why. Like they don't tell you this in school, bruh. Like they don't be teaching you this.
years later, farming also emerged in parts of Southern America and along the river basin of central Mexico, before finally spreading to North America around 2000 BC. The exact forms that
Damn.
these early agricultural societies took varied greatly depending on the availability of local crops and wildlife. In areas like Egypt and China, large herd animals such as wild cattle, pigs, sheep, and water
Bury
buffalo
the bones.
were available to domesticate. By comparison, areas such as South America had few large mammals, and the protein
Oh
requirements of
dang.
its inhabitants were instead met by the cultivation of plants such as beans,
That's
squash, and maize.
interesting. So like does this cause like over time like the people there to rely more on those like fruits and stuff? And like is that why like they became not as strong or something, bruh? Cause like bro, I'll be honest, talking about some South America, bro. I went there to Bolivia, bro. People in Bolivia are not very strong, bro. They're like, bro, my cousin, bro, like, I bet he couldn't even lift a car or something. Like, I can't do that or anything, but like he should be able to. Or no, he's 4. But like, you know what I mean, bro. Like, maybe it's because he be eating all these lentils, bro.
Often, this process of cultivation has been associated with sudden environmental changes,
Get your skull
which would
back,
have
bro.
forced greater human intervention in the growth of wild plant and animal species. But now, it seems clear that this transition was the result of a series of overlapping processes, each of which took many thousands of years to mature. We could likely gain an understanding of these processes by looking at any of the multiple centres where agriculture emerged independently. For this series, however, let us focus our attention on the area where complex agricultural societies are thought to have appeared the earliest, and where the processes that led to their development are perhaps best understood. It is here, in the Near East,
What'd he say?
that we see many firsts. Let us focus our attention on the area where complex agricultural societies are thought to have appeared the earliest, and where the processes that led to their development are perhaps best understood.
The Middle East?
It is here, in the Near East, that we see many firsts, including the earliest known evidence of crops being cultivated,
What?
animal
I didn't even know that.
domestication, and of permanent villages and settlements.
You know, I don't even know why I'm saying this, but like, bro, I love Middle Eastern people. Like, they're the kindest, bro. Like, you guys had halal food, or like kebab or something, bro. Kebab's so good, bro. Like, that's my favorite food, bro. Like, I got kebab like the other day on Friday. Ooh, man, get that jerk chicken, get that lamb. Ooh, give me that white sauce. That white sauce is fire, man. And the hospitality, true that, bruh. Like, the manager dude is all like, yo, we got all natural ingredients. We made it with love. Bro, I feel that love, bruh. I eat that food, I feel the love inside of me, bruh. Like, and I feel lovely, bruh. And I feel like spreading that love, bruh.
During this long period, we will see the emergence of new ritual practices, along with a steady growth of population throughout the hilly flanks of what is termed the Fertile Crescent. From the 7th millennium BC onwards, the first proto-cities would emerge, only to be abandoned in the face of environmental decay.
Dang.
A millennium later,
So they had like
the
storms and
development
stuff.
of irrigation allowed settlers to spread to the alluvial plain of Mesopotamia, where over the next 2,000 years,
Bro,
we see the world's first...
would even be Mesopotamia? It is a historical region in West Asia situated between Tigris and Euphrates River. Oh. Modern day Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. Bro, that's where the Turkey people will be, bro. No way, I knew it. Like, I knew the Turkey people were, like, real. Because I saw them in the back of a truck or something one time. And my friend was like, what are you talking about, the Jewish turkey? No, but I guess turkeys aren't Jewish, right? I don't know.
True cities emerge. Within these cities, we will find the world's first true urban environments, marked by a complex social hierarchy and specialised labour. Finally, we will see the development of sophisticated record keeping and administration, a process that culminated in the world's earliest known examples of writing. But monumental as these achievements may be,
The
it is not
administratum.
here that we begin our story.
Administratum.
In fact, if we wish to explore the origins of complex human societies in this region, we must begin not with the rise of the first recognisable cities, nor with the appearance of crops and animals bearing these
Is it the
hallmarks of
fall of them?
domestication. Instead, our journey begins long before any of these developments,
What?
at the height of the last ice age.
Oh my gosh. Bro, because that's probably where they were like, they're like, we need food. We need to like get consistent food. Or else we're going to freeze
The
and
world of
die.
the last glacial maximum was very different from the one that we know today. During this period, which lasted from around 21,000 to 15,500 BC, temperatures on land were lower by an average of 20 degrees Celsius. In northern Europe and America, vast areas lay under glacial sheets some 3 kilometers thick. Sea levels were up to 100 feet lower than modern coastlines.
Oh my god. Bro, that would be terrible. Like, I'd be going to the forest and stuff. And go to the creek. And the creek water level is so low. And I'm like, bro, you know, I could sit here and chill and do whatever, bro. I'm like, look at the bugs. and get mad at the bugs sometimes. Depending, like if it's a slug or something, I'll be like, "Yeah, it's a pretty cool bug." But if I see like those like lantern flies, like the ones from China or something, I'll be like, "Damn, bro, that get me mad and stuff." But like, damn, having the water level so low, like I want the creek to be higher, bruh. Like, did they even have creeks back then? That's like, I don't know. I'm just asking though, cause I'm not sure.
The vast amount of water locked up in glaciers left a world far more arid than it is today. Deserts stretched for far greater distances, whilst tropical rainforests were reduced to small pockets around the equator.
Duke,
In northern Europe, the
talk to Duke
low-lying plain
Dennis.
of Doggerland still connected Britain with the rest of the continent, whilst in southeastern Asia, the single landmass of Sunderland still connected many of the islands of modern Indonesia and Malaysia. By this time, anatomically modern humans could be found
Bruh,
throughout every continent of the Old World,
'cause
and may already
that's the Pangea, bruh, right? Because they're like,
have reached Northern America by the land bridge Beringia. For most of the inhabitants
is that Pangea?
and Malaysia,
It is Pangea, bro. That they did teach you in school, bro. But they don't even be teaching you about like the Chinese or whatever.
by this time, anatomically modern humans could be found throughout every continent of the Old World, and may already have reached Northern America by the land bridge Beringia.
Like full human.
For most of the inhabitants of Eurasia and Africa, life continued to follow a hunter-gatherer blueprint that had been familiar for much of human existence. Most peoples would still have followed a largely nomadic lifestyle, living in seasonal campsites consisting of simple dwellings and huts.
Dang.
In addition to hunting the larger mammals and megafauna of the period, these groups would also have exploited smaller prey, such
So
as
when
fish,
did they start
reptiles,
farming?
and shellfish. This diet would also have been periodically supplemented by the gathering of simple plant foodstuffs, such as nuts, berries, tubers, and occasionally the seeds of wild grasses.
Dang.
This time period, known as the Paleolithic or Old Stone Age, would have been home to human societies similar to those of the last 50,000 years. But if we look a little closer at these communities and consider wider social and technological trends, we find that hunter-gatherer life had already been increasing in complexity for some time.
Dang. What?
Since
How?
around 40,000 BC, a culture known as the Aurignacian had been developing throughout much of Europe and the Levant. In addition to long-established flake tools, this period is marked by the appearance of more refined implements, including carefully shaped hand axes, scrapers, and a range of specialised stone blades made from flint. Alongside tools made from stone, we also see increasing quantities of specialist bone and ivory tools appearing, including weapon points,
He wants us
needles,
to go
and
to
small
the
instruments known as awls,
Wizard's
designed for
Tower.
punching holes.
What? So they started
The
making
development
tools?
of these tools coincides with the appearance of
What?
tailored clothing, such as leggings and coats,
So
as
they
well as
started
early
wearing
textiles
pants.
such as baskets.
They must have been cold.
And along with these new technological developments, we also see increasing signs of cultural complexity within these settlements, including perhaps the first examples of complex artwork in Europe and the Near East. These examples had been preceded for millennia by simple items of personal decoration, including pierced seashells, mammoth ivory, and animal
What?
bones
So
and teeth.
they discovered fashion
The
back
first
in the
cave
day.
paintings also predate this period, with the
And
earliest
art,
examples consisting of hand stencils and geometric shapes found in
bruh,
cave
bruh,
locations.
like, bruh. Are we like the caveman people or something? Because like, bro, I remember doing this in kindergarten. Like, like, is it the human instinct to do this? Like, is there a primal connection to who you once were? Like, that's why we be doing stuff like this and wearing pants and like jewelry and stuff. And like, we've been doing this since forever, bruh. Like the 20,000 BC, and stuff.
Throughout southern
It's just like one more thing to think about.
France and northern Spain. From around 35,000 years ago, however, this seems to have changed. At places such as Chauvet Cave in southeastern France, we see complex depictions of predators and herbivores engaged in hunting and grazing behavior.
Bruh, like I used to paint dogs in kindergarten, in kitties. But they've been doing this since the beginning. Like, how they don't be teaching us this in school and stuff, you know? Because they don't want us to think that we're like primal creatures, or they're trying to take us away from who we once were. Open up your soul, bro. Open up your mind.
Including animals such as lions, bears, hyena, rhinos, horses, and bison. A carved image of a horse decorated with a coloured pigment known as red ochre has similarly been unearthed at Hyanim Cave in the Levant. These painted works are
What?
complemented by the appearance of carved animal and Venus figures throughout much of Europe. Many of these figures display exaggerated female characteristics, including prominent breasts and hips.
Yeah,
Archaeologists have
bruh. Oh my god. Yo, I've been saying this from the beginning, bruh. Like, the BBW has been here forever, bruh. Like, what's the point of denying the BBW, you know, and stuff? Like, they literally were. Like, the BBWs were living with the dinosaurs and stuff, bro. Like, the cave people had BBWs, bro. That's crazy, bro. And I've been telling people this, and, like, they just think it's funny or, like, I'm stupid or something, but, like, the BBWs are real, bruh. It's crazy. Damn. I knew I was onto something, bruh.
associated with motifs of fertility and childhood. So by the time we reach the peak of the last glacial maximum, around 21,000 BC, it is clear that the cultural and technological complexity of hunter-gatherer societies was increasing. Over the next 10 millennia, these societies would be subjected to a series of dramatic environmental changes. First, we have the easing of the glacial conditions from around 18,000 BC,
Oh, so they could
which saw
farm better.
temperatures and sea levels slowly rise. Around 11,000 BC, this process was suddenly interrupted by another drop in global temperatures.
What?
Glacial conditions returned across much of Europe and North America, where they would persist for another millennium. At the end of this period, global
Evil
temperatures
Bob
would
doing
rise
here,
once
bruh?
more. By 9000 BC,
Just jump
summer
this guy. He
temperatures
doesn't even
were
care about me.
comparative to those of today.
What do you say?
Still, it would take global weather the easing of the glacial conditions from around 18,000 BC, which saw temperatures and sea levels slowly rise. Around 11,000 BC, this process was suddenly interrupted by another drop in global temperatures. Glacial conditions returned across much of Europe and North America, where they would persist for another millennium. At the end of this period, global temperatures would rise once more.
Dang.
By 9000 BC, summer temperatures were comparative to those of today. Still,
What?
it would take many millennia for the glaciers to melt, with global sea levels only reaching their current positions around 3000 BC.
Dang.
Many earlier theories held that the increased complexity of human societies came about directly as the result of these environmental changes. Specifically, it has been argued that the sudden return to glacial conditions during the Younger Dryas would have forced hunter-gatherers in the Near East to intervene more actively in the management of their environment in order to acquire food.
Wow.
This intervention came to focus on the exploitation of the wild grasses and animal life of the fertile lands of southwestern Asia, the former of which humans were already beginning to exploit in the Levant. Since the
Levant.
midpoint of the 20th century, however, evidence has increasingly emerged that these processes began long before the onset of the Younger Dryas, and that the
Actually,
adoption of farming was neither certain nor irreversible.
so like they didn't even know like it had started or something. Like it had just become a thing. Like they just like they roughly know or whatever. But like they've been showing it. I guess people were doing it before the weather became nice and stuff. And like after that they were just like, oh, it just works better when it's like dry and stuff, you know? Dang. That's how I be feeling, you know? Like I be going outside when it's cold and it's like, bro, it's so cold. Like I don't even want to do this out here. but like it's good, you know, like it's easy. I can do this outside, like skating or something, and but like when it gets warm, you're like, oh, I can do it all the time, and it's like good and stuff, you know. They probably, bro, they probably felt so nice when the sun hit them and stuff. They're like, bro, it's like warm, but they were born in the cold, bro. So like they didn't even know what the warm was and stuff. But like we be knowing what the cold is and stuff, you know, because like we be knowing the hot and the cold and stuff. But if you like, if you're hot and you go into the cold, you can get sick, bruh. So like maybe they got less sick back in the day and stuff because like they only had the cold. They didn't have to deal with nothing else. True, bruh. I never thought about that.
So, what do we mean when we say farming? A simple definition might be the deliberate management of plants and animals for human food production. This production occurs in an artificial environment, with domesticated animals and crops being kept separate from their wild equivalents. In this environment, reproductive decisions are carefully controlled, with the end goal of breeding animals with human preferred traits. This sort of description works when considering the developed agricultural systems that appeared in the Near East from around 9000 BC, when more modern forms of crops and animals emerged. But when we try to extend this definition to earlier agricultural efforts, the picture becomes less clear.
Huh? Why
That's
so?
because instead of there being a sudden changeover from hunting and gathering to farming, it seems that agriculture took many millennia to develop.
Like
During this time,
I bet they were doing it side by side, but like when the warm weather came, like they kept doing hunting and stuff, but like they're probably like, bro, we can just like automate it and like do it here and stuff. But their backs be hurting and stuff, right? Like I heard somewhere that you're like the old people of the back in days, like their bone structure was really bad because they had to work and work and work. They had like arthritis and stuff. You know, I know a dude. I used to know a dude named Daryl, bro. Daryl, bro, he ain't even do shit like ever, bro. Like he ain't even do nothing ever, bro. He just had arthritis. He was like 10.
a gradient in farming behaviour would have existed, ranging from simple gathering and cultivation of wild plants at hunter-gatherer camps in order to supplement their diets, to the more methodical exploitation of crops and animals observed at early farming settlements. It also increasingly seems that these two settlement types would have shared many common traits. Despite their more permanent nature, early farming communities would still have relied on hunting for their main supply of meat, and there is evidence that people in many of these societies continued to hunt long after the appearance of domestic animals.
Damn.
For their part, later hunter-gatherers often remained in one settlement for long periods of time, and in recent decades evidence has emerged of these communities processing grain and cereals into simple foodstuffs normally associated with the adoption of agriculture.
But like they were still nomadic, right? And stuff. Like so they would just like for a bit like stay there and stuff and then farm and then hunt and stuff. But like but they be leaving and stuff. Bro, they just be coming and going and stuff, bro. Like they really didn't care, bro. Like people back there was so aloof and stuff. Like be more like people of the back in days, bro. Because if you take your issues too seriously, then like you'll hyperfixate on like whatever's going wrong and stuff. Bro, be like them, bro. They're like, oh, we're hunting, gathering, and like we're farming, but we don't even know what agriculture is really even. And like, you know, we've kind of depleted the resources in this area. It's kind of hard to get more animals to domesticate, or maybe we just ate them all. Like we just got hungry and stuff, you know, like we're bloated and things. And they didn't even have ginger pills back in the day. Bro, how did they not be bloated and stuff? Like they even ate vegetables. Like I know in South America they had beans and stuff, but that just has more fiber. Like did they even drink enough water? Like I bet humans back in the day were hella bloated. Okay, well that's besides the point and stuff. But like, bro, just be happy, bro. Like be like don't be uncaring because like then like you can take it too far and stuff. But like bro, really just like Don't care, bruh. Don't care about the bad stuff. Focus your attention on doing good stuff and growing as a person, and then your problems will go away, bruh. It's true, bro. The omens will take them away. You see someone who's lucky, they're not lucky. Someone lucky is just someone who works hard, authentically, and is growing as a person. So the omens will inherently give them less problems or resolve their problems because they're working hard. It just something to keep in mind.
So, if we want to understand the overlap between these early societies and how they eventually came to rely entirely on farming for survival, we need to understand two core processes. The first of these is domestication, the process by which wild animals and plants are slowly altered
So
into
how they
forms
do
more
that? I'm
attractive for
curious.
human food production. This process is a gradual one, involving slow changes to an animal's
That's a
physical
funny pig.
characteristics over generations of breeding.
Bro, he don't even look like his mom, bruh. Like, think about that, bruh. Like that pig is probably like with another pig and stuff, and like the baby mama is taking care of a kid that's not even hers. Like, but how do you even like how do we even fake that, bruh? Because I thought like the mom would cheat, bruh. But like, so the dude cheated on the mom, and then like was like, "This is your baby," and she was just like, "Yeah." Hey man, you don't know what could happen, bruh. Be mindful, bruh. Stay woke.
In the early days of the Neolithic, these interventions were likely unintentional, occurring as a simple byproduct of farmers continuing to manage and eat plants and animals that grew well within their local environments. In a more developed farming economy, however, humans often deliberately intervene in the animals' reproductive decisions, selectively breeding individual animals with more favourable
He knew my
characteristics.
name, bro. So that's how selective breeding and stuff happened. Like I thought, like I knew, like they were like breeding and farming and stuff and domesticating animals and stuff back in the day. But I totally thought that like selective breeding and stuff and like good qualities in the animals and things like that. Like I thought that was totally like recent invention, you know? Like I didn't think that was like they did that in the BCs, bruh. Like I thought that was like in like 2002, bruh. Like I didn't know that was like they discovered it that long ago.
For example, the wild ancestors of sheep do not grow long fleeces, but instead gradually shed their
Dang.
hair throughout the year. By selectively breeding the individuals of this wild species with longer hair, humans
Bro, that's just like dudes who be buzzing their hair all the time, bruh. Like they just be like growing it, like getting buzz cuts. Like, bro, just keep your hair, bruh. You know what I mean? Like, you think the goats or like the ram or whatever, bruh, or the sheep, like they were just like, bro, I don't want hair for the summer. So like they bred it into their genes and stuff. So their kids would like get buzz cuts all the time and stuff like that. Like who knows, bro? But think about it, like really.
were gradually able to develop a species with a more recognizable fleece. Similar processes occurred in plants such as wheat and barley, both of which were bred for larger grain size and ease of harvesting. In fact, by the time we reach the peak of the last ice age, there is evidence
Bruh, they even domesticated the plant. Like, that's crazy to me, bruh. Like, how do you think they convinced the plant to like be like that? Like they were just like, yo, can you help us out and stuff like that? Like, because plants really be helpful, you know, if you just like ask them and stuff. But like, was that because they asked them, or like bro, would they beat it? Like, how do you force the plant to listen to you, bro? That's like sad, because plants be like growing and stuff, and like, if I had to guess, like the plant can feel happy, bro. Like you play music for a plant and it dances, bro. I saw it in a store one time, or like they grow more or something, you know. And like, if you really think about it, like the plant is alive, but like the plant also be having its own mind. Like they don't like be caring, bro. Like they're like, I'm doing what I'm doing. Like I'll grow over here, I'll grow here, or I'll do whatever I want, you know. But like, how do you tell it to do what you want it to do and stuff, bro? That's crazy, bro. Like people like are wrong for that, I think.
That hunter-gatherers had already begun to domesticate members of an ancestral species of wolf into mankind's
Bro, that's how we got dogs and stuff. Damn. Bro, that's crazy, bro.
most loyal partner. Moving on from domestication, our other major process is cultivation. This process refers to the deliberate planting and management of plants and seeds in artificial settings, such as fields. Often this activity is heavily labour intensive. In forested areas, land would need to be cleared before cultivation could begin.
For true.
After clearing, tools are required to make the land ready for seeding and harvesting.
What?
Whilst in areas with
Did
poor
that guy do
rainfall,
all that?
irrigation systems needed to be developed.
Where they had sprinklers
Even
back
when
in
the
the
crops
time?
were ready to harvest, methods of collecting, processing, and then storing the grain and seeds still needed to be implemented.
What?
All of these activities required major technical innovations, some of which took many millennia to develop.
That's a long time.
With these two processes in mind, let us focus our attention on the hunter-gatherer
Who's
groups
that
in the
for?
Near East, right at the peak of the last glacial
Isn't
maximum.
Wolfgang WWE or something?
Here, this time point coincides with the beginning of a period known as the Epipaleolithic. The first part of
Dang.
this period, which dates from roughly 21,000 BC, is associated with the appearance of small stone blades known as microliths amongst local communities. The appearance of these new tools are correlated.
No. I know Michael. Why would they call this Michael lip? Bruh. Lip Michael. Or Michael's lip don't even look like that, bro. Oh, my elbow. But you get what I'm saying, you know. Like, bro, they just be naming anything, whatever, bro. Like, I be going to the street, bro, and like, they be calling the streets like Allen or something, you know, like Jeffrey. Like, bro, who are these people, bro? Why are they naming stuff after them? They gotta start naming stuff after me, bro.
With an increased range of hunting strategies, with human populations in these regions focusing on more mobile prey, such as small mammals and birds. This fast-moving prey would have required precision weaponry with small stone tips. And whilst we currently lack direct evidence, the presence of arrow-shaped microliths hints that the bow may well have been in use by this time.
Damn.
One suggested
Bro, I got a
explanation
bow.
for this shift in
Like,
hunting strategy
you see
was
this
that
bow
the
right here?
communities in these areas
What the hell?
were
What the
slowly becoming more sedentary. By staying in place for longer periods, it is argued that these communities would have gradually depleted the supply of larger prey species, such as gazelle and red deer in their local area, and that
Wow.
hunting strategies associated with a range of smaller prey were developed to sustain these more permanent settlements. And in addition to this broader spectrum of prey, there is evidence that these communities were also beginning to supplement their meat intake with a wider range of plant foodstuffs.
Like in South America and stuff.
In the millennia before now, there is some scattered evidence of the processing of plants into simple foodstuffs. These activities take the form of Upper Paleolithic grindstones found at sites outside of the Near East, at Italy, Russia, and the Czech Republic, the surfaces of which carry plant residue
What?
associated with the.
I know a dude from Czech Republic. Bro, I wonder if they had this back in the day. Like, I don't know if they had Coca-Cola back in the day and stuff. But I know in Czech Republic, like they have Cafola. I've tried Cafola before. Cafola is like herby, bruh. And it's got only like 24 grams of carbs. And it's like an herby taste. It's got herbs in it or something. And it's like really good for your belly, bruh. Like, why don't they just got that here in America, though? Like, for no reason? Maybe like because they had it back in the day for sure. Like, I don't know if like in the like Paleolithic era and stuff, but like they probably had their own way to carbonate beverages, dude. Like because like they were telling plants to do stuff. Like so they probably told the plant to like grow into the herbs that the Cafola uses and they got water and like they blew bubbles into it or something. Bruh, Cafola's been around for like a million years probably. But like this is the BC, so I don't know.
Grinding of grains into flour. Beyond this small number of finds, however, it is thought that this type of exploitation of plant foodstuffs at human settlements in Europe would not have occurred for many more millennia to come. In the Levant, however, there is evidence that a small number of communities were already harvesting large quantities of plant material during this period. In the late 1980s, a remarkable site was uncovered on the shores of the Sea of Galilee in northern Israel. Known as Ohalo II, this site dates from the very peak of the last glacial maximum. Here, archaeologists have discovered the clustered remains of an early epipaleolithic settlement, including the preserved remains of 6 brush huts.
What?
The floors of each of these oval-shaped buildings were carefully cut into ground level, after which walls were constructed from the branches of willows, tamarisks, and oak trees. In addition to these huts, a large number of hearths were also found on site, along with a designated area for domestic waste disposal. This highly organised settlement has been carbon dated to around 20,000 BC, and appears to have been occupied on a permanent basis for several successive generations. At the end of this occupation period, each of these dwellings was set alight, sealing their contents within. Shortly thereafter, the water
Where they
level of
hid
the
it?
shore rose and covered the settlement. This combination of charring and sedimentation acted to preserve much of the organic material associated with this camp.
Dang.
Such was the state of preservation that one hut still contains recognisable bedding materials, along with a wealth of microliths, animal bones, and a vast assembly of plant material. From these remains, it can be seen that the occupants of Ohalo II exploited a wide range of local prey species, including red deer, hares, foxes, and a variety of seasonal birds.
Bro. I used to have like a fox like in my like the behind of my house and stuff. And like, oh my god, it was so scary, bruh. Because it was like winter and stuff, and it was like 1 in the morning or something. And like, bro, I'd be like, oh, I'm about to go to bed, I'm about to pass out and stuff, hard days. And bro, the fox be screaming, bruh. And I thought it was like a lady dying, and I was scared, bro. I was like shivering, bro. I was like, dude, I could totally go help that lady and stuff, but like what if like I get killed? But then like some dude told me it was just the fox screaming, bro. I like never felt better. I was like, oh, maybe there wasn't a lady that is dying and stuff, but it was just a fox apparently. But they be screaming, bro. I didn't even know that.
What is more significant, however, is the collection of some 150,000 seeds and fruits that were found deposited within the huts. These seeds included acorns, legumes, and wild cereals such as emmer wheat and barley. In addition to this plant material, stone tools resembling sickles have also been unearthed, along with simple grindstones which bear evidence of having been used to process plant seeds. So we can be reasonably certain that substantial amounts of seeds and cereal grains were being consumed at this site around the beginning of the
Or where's the
Epipaleolithic.
rune trader?
A number of paleobotanists have even reported the presence of weed species at Ohalo II associated with cultivation.
Bro, that's what I'm saying. Like the Chinese people and stuff, they were growing Zaza. And they called it Ma, right? And like they used it for ropes and stuff, I think. But there's no way, like, you're in China, it's the ancient China and stuff. Like, you think the people like a hard day of work or like war or like farming or whatever you do, you know, like imagine coming home from a hard day of farming or something or whatever you do, and like sparking up with your homie and stuff. That ma, I bet people were getting fried back in the day, bruh. Like people were burnt, like they were getting geeked. Oh, they must have gone like cross-braided and stuff, like they were drinking on that good China beverage or something, I'm not Chinese, like from ancient China or something, but like they're probably having a good time.
Hinting that plant species were already being exploited in a systematic manner. But whilst these sickle blades and grinding tools were certainly
Yeah, my bad. I was trying to find um the rune shop individual.
in use in places like Ohalo 2 and at sites such as Eingev 1 further to the east, there is currently little evidence that their use was common throughout the Levant. Indeed,
Oh, so they must like it was just these sites that like had those tools and like the evidence of farming and stuff.
there seems to be little resemblance between Ohalo 2 and its surrounding communities, which remained small and mobile.
Mm. So they were still nomadic. Dude, that's crazy. So like not everyone completely became like agricultural and stuff. Like there was hybrids and stuff like throughout, but generally as a trend, they were going up into agriculture or something. It's like it's people in the days today, and like some people be making their own food. Some people be like buying food from the stores or like door dashing, or like they'd be like, sometimes you see crazy people like homeless people, bruh. Like they probably like pick up a rat and like eat it or something. Like I don't know, I'm not homeless or something. But there's also like freaky dudes, like they get on bath salts or something. They'll go out there. They won't even use a shotgun or something to fight a bear. They'll just kill it and like eat it or something and then get parasites. But maybe getting a parasite can't be that bad sometimes, like some people like if you're bloated and stuff, like usually that's because you're eating something that your body doesn't want. Like you're probably not fat, but you're just bloated, like maybe if those people get parasites, like it'll eat away the bloat or something, like the bad thing in your stomach, and then you just poop it out. But I'm not condoning getting parasites, guys. I saw some girl in China do that, and it was scary, bruh. Because like I don't know what a demon really looks like or whatever, and I don't know why I'm even talking about demons even, but like she looked crazy, bruh. Like maybe she had a demon in her, or like was it a parasite? Or oh, bruh. Bruh. Maybe she was on that tree, bruh. But it must have been laced or something, because like she was going crazy, bruh. Like I don't even remember what she was saying. Like she was saying the N word or something. But like I was just confused, bruh. Like I don't really know Chinese that well. I'm not, Chinese or nothing, but you know, what I'm gonna try to say and stuff.
Even so, this site still provides us with evidence that groups were beginning to experiment with sedentary living long before plant cultivation became a common way of life. This trend towards permanent settlements continues as we reach the Middle Paleolithic. In the Levant, we see large camps appear from around 18,000 BC, where many different groups seem to have congregated on a seasonal basis. This includes sites such as Karaner 4, Nahal Hadira 5, and Azarik 13, where hut structures similar to those found at Ohalo 2 have
What?
been unearthed. Each of these sites show
So in the Levant, oh, or is this Middle Paleolithic? And then like these two before were like just Paleolithic or something. Like, did it grow over time? Because I remember he said that like there was no evidence that they consistently did agriculture and stuff. But then like how did Azarik and Karana even appear? Or like Nahal Hadera and stuff, Or who knows, bruh? Like why do they also name like stars and stuff like this? Like they just be naming it like numbers and stuff. Oh, well, I guess there's no numbers. Like, I mean, there's numbers here and stuff. They got like names. Bro, the stars they be naming like NMBLL or something, or like BBW5.
evidence of prolonged habitation,
But I'm just saying, like I don't even got a degree or nothing.
with Karaner 4 in particular showing
I guess I got 1 degree.
rich assemblages of stone tools, worked bone objects, and red ochre.
Third degree. No, it's a 1 degree.
and decorated
They stay safe. Don't stay safe around that fire, man.
shell beads. The presence of these shells in particular, at a site some 200 kilometers inland, demonstrates that long-range social exchange mechanisms must have existed between the communities in this area.
But how? Did they like shoot an arrow like really far away or something?
In
Like with a
addition to
note?
this human assemblage, this site also displays a wide variety of faunal remains, indicating that what is now little more than desert would have once sat within the vicinity of a varied set of environments, including
Wow.
open grass steppe, woodland, and expansive wetland areas.
I wonder how that became like super desert and stuff. Like did the sun hit it a bunch? Or like the the ocean like went over it and then came down or something? Like who even knows, bruh?
In addition to a diet heavy in gazelle and wild cattle known as aurochs, faunal and archaeological remains also show us that these people were increasingly exploiting the wild grasses of this region using early groundstone mortars similar to those seen at Ohallow 2. Indeed, as we reach the
Hey,
later
give me tea.
Epipaleolithic, there is evidence that the wider climate in the Near East had become far less arid, and many regions of the Levant would have consisted of overlapping areas of dense forest, open
Wow.
woodland, and largely
That was
unforested
desert.
steppe. These woodlands in particular would have been home to extensive stands of wild cereals and grasses, including the ancestors of modern wheat and rye.
Where
And
the
if we
plants
skip
have
forward a
ancestors
little,
and stuff.
it is amongst these regions that one of the world's most studied early societies can be found. Out of all the world's earliest cultures, it
Default
is the
chicken. What the
Natufian peoples
hell?
of the southern Levant that have received perhaps the most attention. Discovered in 1928 by archaeologist Dorothy Garrod, the Natufian culture flourished in the Levant from around 14,900 BC, where its remains can still be
Wow.
found at a wide range of sites, including the cave site of El Wadi, Tel Abu Hurayya, and at the lowest levels of Tel Es Sultan. It is at these sites, which comprise a mixture of long-standing cave-mouth dwellings and more open settlements, that the first wide-scale evidence of permanent communities has been found.
But how?
In more open settlements, circular wooden
Oh.
buildings were constructed from solid stone foundations, whilst cave-mouth settlements show evidence of early terracing of the surrounding slopes to extend their available space. Over time, the Natufians also seem to have become adept at placing their settlements in areas with close access to multiple biomes. Evidence of this can be seen in the wide range of resources consumed at Natufian settlements. In addition to a diet of larger animals such as gazelle, red deer, wild boar, and a variety of smaller mammals, birds, and even tortoise, peoples in this region increasingly invested a large amount of time.
Bro, they ate turtles? Bro, that's wrong, bro. Like, I have a turtle, bruh. I got a tortoise. Like, why would they even do that? Like, you probably don't even get that much meat. But my turtle is like the size of like like your palm or something, or like a rock, or maybe like a ball, or like a baseball or something. But like, bro, you can't even get that much meat out of them, bro. Why would you even do that? Or is it like eating a soup? Bro, I don't even want to think about that.
And effort in the harvesting and processing of wild cereals and pulses.
What, they ate cereal back in the day? Like, yeah, because they had milk from the cows, right? Because that's when they started like farming first. Bruh. And they say like cereal is wrong and stuff like that. Like, I don't even think they eat that dough.
The most iconic finds associated with this activity are sets of stone mortars and sickles, both of which bear microware consistent with being used to harvest and process the wild grasses of this region. Compared with the simple grindstones and sickles that have been unearthed at Ohallow 2, the tools found at Natufian era sites represent a significant refinement.
Wow.
Stone mortars found at Natufian sites are often carefully shaped out of black basalt, allowing them to contain a greater amount of material
Bath
within.
salts?
Natufian sickles similarly show refinement over the simple blades found at Ohallow 2, being set in long ivory or bone handles that would have allowed them to more effectively cut through the stems of the wild grasses that were abundant throughout this region.
Wow.
So what types of foods would these mortars have been used to make? Many archaeologists have
Like,
theorized that the seeds and cereals harvested in the earlier Epipaleolithic would have been used to create simple bread-like foodstuffs and early forms of beer. I say
dang,
theory.
bruh. They were getting like burnt back in the day. That's what I be saying, bruh. And like they be eating beans, probably. Like they be eating beans with beer and like a toast or something, bruh. Yeah, that's crazy.
Because as of yet, no evidence of these items has been discovered at these sites. This lack of evidence is unsurprising, given their perishable nature. But
Oh yeah.
remarkably, it is at Natufian era sites that we see some evidence that both of these foodstuffs may have been consumed throughout the Levant. At Rakeford Cave near Mount Carmel in Israel, residue from early brewing activity has been found on the surfaces of mortars dug into the limestone floor. Here people appear to have carefully malted grains gathered from the vicinity of the cave, then ground and fermented them within mortars. Evidence of this can be found in the form of starchy residues left behind, that archaeologists have been able to link to local varieties of wild wheat and barley. This fermentation process would have resulted in a form of beer with very low alcohol content, but
Bruh.
even so, it represents the earliest known experiment in the making of alcoholic beverages.
Bro, so they really just like, cause like their tolerance is probably like really high back in the day too, bruh. So like they really weren't even getting that buzzed. Do you think it was just like a good juice? They're like, oh, this juice like tastes kind of silly, but like I feel kind of like I'm floating on a juice, but like it wasn't even a juice, or they probably give it to get to kids. Like kids were probably the ones getting burnt and stuff. That's why like all the dudes be trying to like be taking the beer, bruh. I didn't think about that. Like, dang, like we really haven't changed that much at all. But they're like trying to make it seem like we're so much more different and stuff than like how we used to be and stuff, you know. But I don't know, bro. I'm just saying.
This brewing activity may also have been associated with a degree of ritual overtones, as shown by the complex burial practices associated with nearby Natufian era graves. The theory has even been posited, most notably by archaeologist Robert Braidwood, that the human thirst for alcoholic beverages and its associated ritual usages may well have provided an additional impetus for the onset of agriculture. So ancient beer residue is one thing, but what about the more solid foodstuffs that these grains would have been used to manufacture?
Like what though? Like bread?
It might seem logical that direct evidence of these items wouldn't have survived,
Mm-hmm.
given the vast amount of time since their production.
Because they go
But thanks to
bad.
carbonisation, even the most perishable material can survive for many thousands of years.
Run, no way. So like maybe the Cafola. You know what I was talking about, bro? Like that's the thing. The carbonation or something, zation or something. Like they put the bubbles inside of the drink. Like how do you put that in food though? Like they know that. Like how's the evidence like really still there? Or like can that just happen? Like the food just decides, or like the grass or like the plant is like, yeah, I'm a carbonize or something, and then like the food just like lasts forever. Dude, that's crazy. I didn't even know that.
This is the case at Shabaikwa 1, and the Tufian era campsite in northeastern Jordan.
Not sure bike well.
Here, in addition to a wide range of archaeobotanical remains, some 24 charred bread-like fragments have been unearthed within the remains of a hearth at the centre of the camp. These fragments appear to have been manufactured from the grains of cereals such as wild wheat and barley, along with a form of clubrush tuber that makes up the majority of plant remains found at the site. As simple as these early bread-like materials are, their existence already demonstrates that the Natufian
Dang.
peoples were capable of complex food processing behaviour.
So like money didn't even exist or nothing back in the day. But like, is that why they call it bread? Because like because the original bread used to be the money, bruh. Like they're like, yo, I'm gonna give you some bread. Like, can you go like wash my house or something? You know, or like fix this or do that. I'll give you a piece of bread. That's why they call money bread, dude. I didn't. I feel like I'm just learning more and more. Watching this video.
including cereal dehusking, milling, drying, and baking. In addition to these examples of simple food production, it is in the Natufian era that we see the emergence of previously unknown ritual behaviours. These behaviours are most apparent in the increased emphasis placed on human burials during this period. Frequently, graves are found containing decorative elements, such as elaborate clothing and facial
Wow.
coverings. Some
So they even still had like those ritualistic practices back in the day. Like, I mean, a lot of the stuff back in the day must have had more like spiritual, I guess, because of like quote unquote lack of science to explain stuff or whatever. And that's just like the rationalizations of the world and stuff. Because, like, if you think about it, like, especially ghosts, I don't know if you believe in ghosts. I definitely believe in ghosts. Like, they even made a video game and stuff about it, like the Call of Duty or something, or like a bunch of movies and stuff. But like back in the day, like the medieval people, especially like people from war and stuff, like they didn't really had PTSD in the same way that we had it. I think I saw something about this, and pretty much like ghosts and exorcisms and stuff like that, and all that stuff, like demons. That was the way they rationalized their PTSD, or like I guess it didn't exist, but like their traumatic experiences with war that had like life altering changes to them, because inherently, like back in the medieval ages, like it, your role in the world and the world itself was a very fixed thought. Whereas now, like if aliens come from the sky or something and visit us, like we probably wouldn't tweak that bad, because like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I probably don't believe in aliens or something, but like if it happened out, I wouldn't be surprised. But, like they have like that I guess like aloof attitude, but especially like in caste like societies and stuff like that, or just generally like back in the days and stuff, they had a very concrete image of like what the world was, and anything that went against that, especially like with war, like early teens or something going into war, they had this very like chivalrous mindset or attitude when approaching war. They're like, war is a very ritualistic thing. It has to be done in this specific way. It's a very honorable thing, but like once they get to the actual warring, Brett's war, like Brett, dudes' legs be flying off and stuff, and like their necks, and like there's arrows and stuff, and like bad stuff and things like that. So like their mind can't actually comprehend that, or it can't comprehend rather like the fact that everything that they believed in or thought was true is just inherently not. Like their mind couldn't take it. They didn't go crazy. I mean, I guess some of them did or whatever, but it could be that they use like these supernatural things to rationalize their internalized feelings of, I guess, like the way their thoughts of how the world was, before or something. But I'm just saying, bro, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know nothing.
of which were decorated with pierced seashells.
But like, yeah, they've been doing that forever, bro. That's crazy. Like, we really aren't that different. And like, I mean, to be fair, in this sense, we are. Like, we're like growing very much further apart from like spiritualization stuff like that, because like I think there definitely should be that very big distinction there, because most people, I think the reason why as a society we're moving apart from spirituality, or like whatever that is, because people see it as an old way of thinking, as in like we use it to rationalize science when we didn't know necessarily what science even was. But in my opinion, it's a little bit more than that. But like that's neither here nor there or whatever. Like I'm just saying, just saying stuff.
In addition to this, large quantities of bracelets, armlets, and necklaces made of animal teeth and bones.
Bruh, ice, bruh. People were like dripping and icy like since the beginning, bruh. Like dudes like in the streets be doing that too, bruh. Like they don't be doing it with teeth, bruh. That's kind of nasty and stuff. But like back then, bruh, repping that would probably be tough. Like imagine hunting like a wolf or a bear or something and popping it on your wrist like its teeth, bruh. You'd be so tough. Like you probably get all the chicks and stuff, you know, and like get the beer and stuff and get a bunch of bread, bruh. Like dang, we really just be living now back then too, I guess.
Have been found within the Tufian era.
But they don't even got technology and stuff. But oh no, but they do. They just got like their own type of technology, but they don't got no television or nothing. So like, kind of boring, you know.
Burials. The most spectacular example of these burials has been unearthed at the cave site of Hills on Tashtit in southern Israel. Here, the body of a disabled woman has been found interred within a large burial pit. This woman, who died around the age of 45, was buried alongside a wide range of grave goods, including the
Wow.
shells of over 50 tortoises, the skulls of 2 pine martens, a complete human foot, and a
What
range
the
of
hell?
body parts from animals such as wild boar, cattle, leopards, and even the wing of a golden eagle.
Now, you think that that human foot was like they just cut some random dude's foot off and were like, "Bro, have it. This is sentimental." But like, you think it was like sacrificed willingly, like, which is still pretty weird, but like maybe they like it was a way of showing their sentimentality or something towards a person's death. But either way, it seems like all of these things maybe have some sort of value of sentimentality, or at least ritualistic purpose. Because like otherwise, why would they just chuck it in? They just thought it was funny. Like they just like, oh, let's go to the dead body. It's like an activity. Like a bunch of kids just did that. They're like, oh, I found a foot on the ground. Let me just chuck it in here. It must have some purpose.
It has been theorized by the site's excavators that this body is that of an early shaman or medicine woman, whose special
Oh,
significance would have required an elaborate burial by her community. Whether
yeah. So it was like sentimentality, and also maybe like maybe they were like scared that like the shaman's gonna come back and like gonna kill me or something. But like probably not. Like I'm pretty sure like in these type of civilizations and stuff, like the shaman was really important. Like I don't think people really had a fear of him as much. Like I mean, like I said, like a lot of that rationalization and like I approach it slightly because like I'm not saying that necessarily spirituality is because of a lack of science, but like yeah, since it was heavily more spiritual back in the time, probably like the shaman was probably like of great importance and stuff like that. But I'm not like I don't know, but they probably weren't scared of him as much as they were like, oh, it's like that's a very useful person. They've helped the tribe out for like a million years or something, probably because like like bro, isn't the god emperor like 9 shamans or something? Or the retcon? I don't know if it's retconned. Let me know.
or not this is true, it is clear that by the Natufian, people were already placing special emphasis on the burials of certain prominent individuals within their societies. Whilst the Natufian communities in the Levant have received by far the most attention in preceding decades, it is now known that increasingly sedentary hunter-gatherer communities also existed outside of the Levant during the later Epipaleolithic.
So that's like those are the communities that like mainly did um agricultural stuff and things like that of that nature and stuff because like they weren't moving that much, right? Like they weren't like, oh yeah, let's go hunter and gather and stuff. Yeah, like yo, let's just stay here and grow and stuff and like do jumping jacks probably, or like maybe did they do squats back in the day? Like probably just get buff or something, you know. But these dudes don't even look that buff, but they look kind of ripped.
In northern Syria, a small Natufian-style settlement known as Abu Huraira flourished from around 11,000 BC. Here the locals appear to have subsisted by hunting gazelle, wild cattle and sheep, whilst also
Wow.
exploiting a varied diet of wild cereals and grains.
But You
Elsewhere,
think they had Frosted Flakes back in the day, bruh? Like that's crazy, bruh. Or like Reese's Pieces or like Reese's Puffs, bro. Oh, I haven't had Reese's Puffs in like a minute, man. Like one of these days, bruh, I think I might just like get a box of Reese's Puffs and just eat it all, bruh. Like for no purpose. Like I'll just do it for fun, like for an activity or something. Like you think that's how they thought? Like they were like, because they were like not even doing stuff, you know? They were like mainly farming at this point because like, or at least like the society's not near the Levant. Um, they would be like, would this be more like Mesopotamia? I know he said not Levant, and it's still Paleolithic to like the Middle Paleolithic or something. But like, bruh, the more sedentary like communities that just like stayed there and just farmed, bro, they probably just like did that to eat the food, bruh. They were just like, bruh, this food's delicious, bruh. Let's just eat some like Reese's Puffs or something, you know, or like some Captain Crunch. Oh man, I would, yo, I would live back in the day, bruh. Like, oh, but they didn't even have like TV or nothing, bruh. Damn.
in Turkey and Syria, less information is known about the settlement patterns during this
That is
period,
Mesopotamia,
but we
right?
do know of a small number of sites along the Euphrates and Tigris rivers that date from right around the end of the Epipaleolithic. In addition to these
Epipaleolithic.
sites, there is also scattered evidence of settlement to the east, in the arid valleys of the Zagros Mountains.
The Zagros
These
Mountain.
sites, known collectively as the Zarzian culture, are roughly contemporaneous with the Natufians, dating from between 18,000 to 8000 BC.
Damn.
Whilst evidence indicates that these sites were sparsely occupied during the Epipaleolithic, it is clear from the presence of increased numbers of microliths that hunters in this region were steadily increasing the range of resources they were exploiting. We come now to the final part of the Epipaleolithic, a period that coincides with a major shift in the global climate. As we discussed before, by 11,000 BC, global temperatures had increased significantly, bringing with them a warmer, wetter climate throughout much of the Near East.
Damn.
But just 200 years later, there was a sudden return to cooler conditions throughout much of Europe and Asia. Known to archaeologists as the Younger Dryas, this downturn is correlated with a disruption in settlement patterns in the Levant, with permanent Natufian sites being abandoned in favour of more mobile forms of living.
Is that why it became like really dry and like very deserty and stuff like that? Like it wasn't even like green?
In southwestern Iran, the Zarzian culture soon came to an end, whilst at Abu Huraira, the change in climate led to a decline in local plant species.
Dang.
At first, it seems its inhabitants responded by increasing the number of plant species they exploited, including the earliest confirmed cultivation of a form of wild rye that could withstand the cooler conditions. Ultimately, however, these efforts were in vain, and the settlement was abandoned shortly before the end of the Epipaleolithic. The exact causes of the Younger Dryas are still argued amongst archaeologists. Theories for its onset include changes in Atlantic circulation patterns, a global increase in volcanic activity,
Wow.
or even an asteroid impact over Northern America.
Damn.
Currently, the most widely
Bro, is that why like the people in America and stuff like just got exploded? Like like probably like someone even probably like discovered America back in the day, you know? Like not even like 1700 or like 1000 or something. Like in the million BC, and they were like, but they were getting technology. Like what if we were like this advanced like back in the day like this and just the asteroid hit it and no one knew? That bro, that's crazy. More to think about, really.
accepted theory for its onset is that the slow retreat of North American glaciers after the end of the last glacial maximum led to vast quantities of meltwater entering the northern Atlantic. This water, it is theorized, would have disrupted the natural ocean conveyor systems that pull warmer water from the tropics up into the northern hemisphere. This disruption resulted in a return to glacial conditions across much of northern
No.
Europe and America, whilst in the
Really?
Near East, many areas would have suddenly become cooler and drier than before. The
No.
exact effects would have varied from site to site, but it seems likely that in many inland areas, the cereals and wild pulses exploited by human settlements would have become less abundant, as would many of the animal species that form the backbone of their diet.
Dang.
As we discussed at the beginning of this episode, it was argued for a long time that this sudden climate downturn was tied to the beginning of plant cultivation by communities in Southwest Asia. This fall in resources, it is argued, would have forced increased intervention by the peoples of these regions in the management of crops and herd animals alike. Certainly it seems that these environmental changes would have added to more local pressures, but as we have now covered, this process of cultivation seems to have begun
Supposed
even
to tell
before
me?
the onset of the Younger Dryas.
Maybe I have the wrong settings on
Moreover,
roulette.
there is no evidence of a quick switchover to mixed farming economies during this time, and fully domesticated forms of both animals and crops do not emerge for millennia to come.
Damn, bruh. So that asteroid really like set us back. So I was thinking about like nuclear bombs and stuff like that. Like imagine a nuclear bomb just dropping in something like that'd be pretty bad for us, I think. Like I don't know, no, but like if the asteroid impact set us back that much during that time, I think like wait, what the hell? Okay, whatever. Damn, it really just like give me the answer. Let me get the puzzle solver. I really don't want this active. Yep. Now we know where it is at least, but whatever. Sucks.
Instead, the hunter-gatherers of this region simply seem to have adopted a more mobile lifestyle, returning to a more sedentary existence only after more favourable conditions returned.
Dang, so just stayed farming and stuff because like it was horrible conditions. I mean, to be fair, bruh, like if like it was super hot or super cold or something, like right, that's why they'd be telling like old people to stay home or like kids to stay home because like they're gonna die. Like, what if everybody was everybody like old or like a child? Oh yeah, because they lived to like 10 back in the day or something, right? Or, like 20. That they're like they probably had Amber Alerts tell them not to go outside. So like they just like stayed there. They didn't even like hunter or gather or something, you know.
By the midpoint of the 10th millennium BC, the cool period that had characterised the Younger Dryas was coming to an end. Within the span of some 50 years, the global temperature would rise by some 7 degrees Celsius, and by the end of the millennium, summer temperatures in much of the Near East would reach levels similar to those of modern times. With this rise in temperature also came an expansion of wooded and grassland areas throughout much of the Near East.
Wow.
Here we enter a period known as the Neolithic, or New Stone Age. This time period dates from around 9600 BC, and can be clearly divided into two parts, distinguished from one another by the appearance of a new item within the archaeological record. The first of these, known as the pre-pottery Neolithic, is distinguished from the later pottery Neolithic by the absence of its characteristic fired clay vessels within its archaeological layers. Complicating matters, the pre-pottery Neolithic itself can be further split into an earlier period, which lasted until around 8800 BC, and a later period, which dates until the midpoint of the 7th millennium BC. These two periods, often referred to as A and B by archaeologists, are distinguished from each other by a wide range of cultural and technological innovations, along with the slow appearance of domesticated forms of plants and animals in the later pre-pottery Neolithic.
Damn.
Let us start then by examining the early settlements of the Near East from the midpoint of the 10th millennium BC, right around the beginning of the pre-pottery Neolithic. To the best of our knowledge, people in these societies would have lived in a communal fashion, much as they had throughout earlier hunter-gatherer times. In addition to continuing to hunt together in groups, activities such as crop cultivation, processing, and cooking also seem to have been conducted by multiple households. Evidence of this can be seen at the early pre-pottery Neolithic settlement of Jerf el Amar, where large hearths have been unearthed in the spaces between houses, suggesting that these households would have cooked and eaten together.
Wow. So like they started being like communally and stuff, like being community, I guess. Communal. communal to each other. I mean, like, were there even like antisocial people back in the day? Oh, because there was like hermits and stuff, but like maybe the witches. I don't even know.
The backbone of these settlements' food supply would still come from hunting local wildlife, but there is also evidence
Mm.
that cultivated cereals would have made up an increasing proportion of the inhabitants' diet as the pre-pottery Neolithic
You've just been
progressed.
eating cereal forever, bruh.
For evidence of this, we can point to the settlements of Jerf el Amar and Wadi Fenan. At both sites, central structures have been unearthed that bear signs of having been used for large-scale grain storage. At Jerf el Amar in particular, a subterranean building has been uncovered measuring some 9 metres in diameter, one that was repeatedly rebuilt over the course of the settlement's lifetime. The space within this building was separated by limestone walls into a number of doorless cells, which seem to have been used to store large amounts of lentils and barley. Surrounding this structure were a series of rectangular buildings
Russ, they had giant storage systems of like food already, but that's crazy.
containing heavy quern stones, indicating that they were used for processing large quantities of grain into flour. These communal buildings are currently unknown at prior Natufian sites, and their importance was such that similar structures were retained, even as the settlement itself was remodelled. As such, it has been suggested that these structures may have combined their practical role with more ceremonial aspects, acting as the site of communal rituals, which included the deposition of both human and animal body parts.
Oh my god.
The
So they were
construction of
eating
communal
people.
buildings is a trend that increases throughout the pre-pottery Neolithic. Around the same time as these structures were being built in northern Syria, another unique structure appears at a settlement in the southern Levant. It was constructed at the site of Tel Es Sultan, within the modern city of Jericho. Based around a nearby spring, this site had been seasonally occupied as early as the Natufian period,
Wow.
but it
So
is
just
during the early
sometimes.
pre-pottery Neolithic that a more permanent settlement appears. This settlement, which is characterised by womb-shaped stone and mud brick buildings, is surrounded by a massive wall that encloses an area of some 3 hectares. This wall, which in places is up to 5 metres tall and 2 metres thick, was built of undressed stone and mud mortar, and is complemented by a ditch dug out of the rock below. Around the same time as its construction, a monumental stone tower some 7 metres in height was built inside the wall, containing a complex internal staircase leading to the platform above. The exact function of this wall and tower remain uncertain. The site's original excavator, Kathleen Kenyon, asserted that these structures would have acted as defensive fortifications for the dwelling it surrounded. Alongside their great size, she also pointed to the presence of a destruction layer within the tower, along with the burial of 12 bodies at the foot of its staircase that bore the signs of violence.
What?
But other archaeologists are less certain. In particular, the positioning of the tower itself has come under question. Most defensive towers are built on the outside of their surrounding walls, giving the defenders a better vantage point from which to hurl down missiles on their attackers.
Oh my
The
god.
tower at Jericho, however, is positioned inside the wall, where it is surrounded by a number of smaller structures that seem to have been used for storing plant foodstuffs. Moreover, there is no sign of a similar structure at other
Really
settlements
just been
from this
fighting
era,
forever.
and it is unclear where any attackers would have come from. It has been argued as such that the wall and ditch may have played another practical role, such as preventing seasonal flooding from the nearby spring. Alternatively, its construction may have been intended to signify the settlement's status to surrounding communities, and to inspire an appropriate sense of awe. Archaeologists such as the late Klaus Schmidt have also pointed to structures unearthed surrounding the base of the tower that may indicate a ritual function, including the remains of 2 early stone pedestals that may have held early totem poles. Regardless of these uncertainties, it is clear that the construction of these structures, along with those found at Jerf el Amar and Wadi Fenan, would have required a large workforce, along with a degree of societal organisation not seen at earlier sites.
Wow. So everyone really just did put in their own work, really. Like for it to work, everyone had to have been like, oh, I gotta do my part and stuff like that. But, like, were people even conscious back then and stuff? Or did they just do it to do it, bro? Like, they were like, we don't even got TV or nothing, or like, radio, or like, like a flip phone or something. So like, they're like, might as well, place rocks, like, in this order, like up high, like that and stuff. But like, they didn't even have like good beer. So like, what were they even having fun with? Like, what if those rocks just fell on them and they died, bruh? Like, I'd be so mad.
But the development we have seen at these settlements is only a small taste of the organisational skills that the people of this time would have been capable of. For it is during this time that we see the emergence of what may be the world's first dedicated ritual centre. And to find it, we must look not to the Levant or Syria, but further north to Turkey.
What?
Situated on a broad limestone ridge on the southeastern edges of Anatolia, the monumental assembly of Göbekli Tepe has rewritten our understanding of human behaviour in the earliest days of the Neolithic. Discovered in the early 90s by Professor Klaus Schmidt, this vast site consists of an artificial earthen mound over 300 metres in diameter. At its heart lies a number of ceremonial buildings and subterranean enclosures that were carefully filled in with rubble after their use was discontinued. Currently, a total of 5 enclosures of varying size have been unearthed, dating from the earliest days of the pre-pottery Neolithic. These enclosures consist of roughly circular walls built in hollows
Bro,
hewn
that's
into the
creepy.
bedrock, around which T-shaped pillars have been placed at regular intervals. The centres of these enclosures are similarly dominated by 2 T-shaped pillars, often constructed on a far grander scale than those that line the enclosures. Each of these pillars would have been carefully chiselled out of the bedrock at nearby limestone quarries, then transported to the enclosures and erected within carved stone bases. The largest of these pillars stands some 5.5 metres tall and would have weighed around 8 metric tons, indicating that hundreds of people may have been required to transport it from its quarry.
Bro, that's like,
Carved on the surface of many of these
people
pillars
really
are
did
decorative images of local
like
wild
whatever, bro.
animals,
Like, they're just
including
bored.
aurochs, boars, birds, scorpions, spiders, and snakes, along with a number of canine figures that may represent wolves, foxes, or even early dogs.
Wow.
In addition to these images, figures have been found carved in high relief, including enigmatic 4-legged figures that may depict either reptiles, panthers, or other unknown predators. In addition to their pillars, these enclosures are characterised by their carefully polished limestone floors. The exception to this is Enclosure B, which instead contains an artificial terrazzo floor constructed from fired lime mortar. Dug into this floor in front of one of the pillars is a bowl-shaped depression, the exact purpose of which remains unknown. Alongside these enclosures, a wide variety of
Bruh, they probably like had people in those boxes and stuff, and made them do like jumping jacks or something. Bro, they made them do something torturous, bro. There's no way. Like, like planks. Planks are kind of easy. Bro, they made him do like dragon flags in there or something, bro. I'd be so mad. I'll be honest. I'll be like, bro, why are you making me do? And they probably didn't like even let him out once they were done. Like, I'd be so angry, bro.
Sculptures have been found on site, including phallic human statues, animal sculptures,
What the hell?
and
He got a
enigmatic
pee-pee.
rings. In many ways, the structures found at Göbekli Tepe open up more questions than they answer. What ritual role would these enclosures and pillars have played in the lives of the people who built them? Would they have been used to conduct initiations, rites of passage, or to facilitate?
Bruh. Yeah, because I forgot about that, bruh. Like, the Illuminati back in the day probably, like, had him doing some crazy, bruh. Like, he was like, let me touch your butt or something. And, like, they have to do it in between the stone, or, like, you're not in. Or, like, the Freemason or something. Like, why he even in jail, bruh? Like, I'm not really sure.
Funerals and spiritual experiences? Why is it that the distributions of animal carvings differ between individual enclosures? Was this due to them having unique functions, or were they constructed by different groups according to their preferred symbology? Moreover, why are some of the pillars pierced, and why are their tops marked by patterns of indentations resembling those found on early mortar stones? In addition to these functional questions, basic structural details of the enclosures remain unclear. Currently, it is still unknown if the enclosures were originally roofed, or exactly how they were accessed. One suggestion is that a number of portal stones found on the site may have been embedded in enclosure walls to serve as entranceways, as
Bro, so
seen
they
in a
were living
surviving
in
example
holes?
unearthed to the south of Enclosure C.
Oh, hell nah. Bro, that means that lizard people have been living underneath the ground for like centuries, bruh. Isn't that crazy? Like, that's scary, bruh. And they're like telling you the Illuminati or whoever, or like the lamps and stuff. Like, bruh, they like, bruh, it's all real, bruh. You just gotta like read in between the lines or something, you know? Which, like, to be fair, you know, when you're reading, like, you see the words and like, you know, sometimes reading the words makes more sense than reading the, you know, the white part in between them. But if you read the white part and you focus on the white part enough in between the words that are black or whatever color, you know, they are, like, then it really does just become like eligible. Like at some point you're just going to start be able to understand that there's more than just white in between the black words. Think about it.
One of these portal stones has similarly been found in the centre of Enclosure B, and could be interpreted as having once been part of an enclosing roof. It is unlikely that we will have answers for
Bro,
any
there's
of
just a
these
guy in this
questions
tree. What the
anytime
hell?
soon. For now then, let's stick to what we can say with some certainty about the site. It seems that the construction of this site was carried out by peoples from a number of mobile communities throughout northern Syria, Iraq, and southeastern Turkey. These communities appear to still have largely been hunter-gatherers, which may explain the abundance of wild animal imagery found carved on the pillars. And whilst these communities appear to have been at least semi-mobile, there is also evidence that they had already begun a degree of exploitation of local plant species.
So they were like talking to the
According to the
plants.
site's late excavator, Klaus Schmidt, this site would have acted as a ritual centre and sanctuary at which these communities would have periodically gathered. Indeed, T-shaped pillars and their related symbols are known at later sites within a wide radius of
Bruh. So like they've been doing the the T, but like they've been putting T's up everywhere. But you gotta really think about what that means. Like how many words even really start with T, other than the one that's following that word that starts with a G. Like there's taurine, Telebekland. That's what I mean. No words start with the letter T if you really think about it. Like, or like it must be like a cult or something. Like really look around you. Like how many T-shaped objects do you see? Like if you see a lamp is just a T, but like the line at the top is really a circle. But if you look at the T right here, like this is 2D, bruh. Like, do you think that T that goes across like the minus symbol on top of the stick? You think the minus symbol is just 2D? Like, what if it's like a circular object, but it just looks 2D because there's no shading on it? Think about it.
Göbekli Tepe. Similar animal motifs have also been found incised in tablets at the contemporary settlement of Jerf El Amar, suggesting that a common language of signs and symbolism may already have existed between these distant communities. As for the pillars themselves, the site's excavators are confident that they represent exaggerated human figures. This is best shown by the presence of what can only be considered arms and hands on pillars 18 and 31, along with carvings that resemble loincloths and stola. These anthropomorphic features have been interpreted by archaeologists as representing either gods or ancestor figures,
Wow.
although exactly which is uncertain. As for the rituals held within the enclosures, Klaus Schmidt also suggested that Göbekli Tepe may have been the home of an early death cult. As evidence for this,
That's
he and
cold.
other excavators point to the elevated position of the site,
Someone
which
told
would
me
have rendered it
SpongeBob
ideal
did
for the
that.
exposure of bodies for carrion birds to feed upon them.
Oh,
Birds
hell
such as
nah.
vultures frequently appear amongst the images represented on the pillars, along with other predatory animals associated with death. If bodies were exposed in such a fashion at this site, then it may explain the need for the surrounding enclosures, which would have shielded this activity from view. However, it should also be noted that no clear evidence of burials has been found at Göbekli Tepe dating from this period, indicating that the remains of any bodies exposed here would have had to have been disposed of elsewhere. So moving on from this theory, we can say that regardless of what rituals were associated with the construction and use of these enclosures, they appear to have been marked by an unprecedented level of feasting.
Wow. I
Evidence
told you, they just be eating, bruh. They just be eating, bruh. Like they have nothing better, better to do or something. Like no television or like a Nokia or something. But they just be eating, bruh.
This activity has been found amongst the rubble used to backfill the enclosures at the end of their lifetime. Here large numbers of bones from gazelle and aurochs have been unearthed, many of which have been cracked to get at their internal marrow.
Oh,
The
hell
sheer
no.
volume of these bones seems too large to have been the result of a single feasting event. Instead, it seems more likely that large amounts of bones were transported here from a nearby location, though
What?
where remains undetermined.
Why?
It has also been theorized by site excavators that these feasts would have included the consumption of large amounts of alcoholic beverages.
Oh, hell yeah.
Indeed, we previously suggested
They were
that alcohol
burnt.
may have played
I bet like in like Vietnam and something, or like whatever was there before Vietnam and stuff. Like, right, they even like they probably like cut the kratom trees and stuff and got to kratom, bruh. Whew.
a similar ritual role in Natufian societies. In the case of Göbekli Tepe, evidence for this activity is limited. Residues have been found in later buildings erected at the site that suggest they may have been used for brewing, though this is not without uncertainty. Alternatively, these beverages may have been brewed in the surrounding communities, then transported to the site later. As an example of this, we can point to the rectangular houses surrounding the subterranean building at Jerf El Amar. In addition to containing mortars and ovens, some of these buildings also contain large limestone vats,
Okay, that guy
which could
didn't
well
help me
have
at
been
all.
used for the fermenting of gathered grains and cereals. Indeed, the provision of these beverages and feasts
So
may
they
have been
got
a
drunk
required
while eating
incentive
cereal,
for
bro.
recruiting and organising a large enough
Damn, that looks
workforce to
good.
allow the enclosure's construction. Finally, we should say that the presence of these vast communal structures, along with those found at early pre-pottery Neolithic settlements, suggests that the organisational and ritual complexity of human societies in the Near East
It was
was
really
growing ever more
advanced.
intricate throughout the early pre-pottery Neolithic.
Wow.
What is interesting about many of these centres, however, is that whilst they would have taken large numbers of workers to
Bro,
construct
why are
their
you
communal
beating me?
structures, often the resulting ritual spaces are small. It's far from certain, but it is possible that access to the interiors on ritual occasions was already being limited to a small number of significant people, though how they would have been selected remains unknown.
That's what I'm saying. It's like the Illuminati, bruh. Like it's so obvious. Like if you turn that T upside down, it literally says I. Or like if you see the platform at the bottom, it says I as well. Like they're not even trying to hide it or anything. Like it was really like secret society. Like, do you think they touched your butt back then? Like, like I know they did that, like Diddy and stuff, and like someone else probably, like Kanye, did that to himself, I think. But like, bro, the Illuminati is scary, bro. Like, what if they just come after you and just do that to you? And they've been doing this for like the BCs, bruh. Damn.
So as we reach the end of the earlier pre-pottery Neolithic, we can say that the site of Göbekli Tepe represents a dramatic increase in the organisational abilities of mankind. Never before had a ritual site been erected on such a scale, or required such large amounts of manpower to construct. The enduring significance of this centre
A lot
to
of
the
people.
hunter-gatherer peoples who built it can be seen in how they returned to it for centuries to come, progressively
Wow.
elaborating on its enclosures and associated mythologies.
They kept like adding and
Ultimately,
adding.
however, the complex animal carvings seen in its
That's
pillars
mathematics.
and statues represents one of the last great flowerings of hunter-gatherer symbology.
Dang.
For it is in the next 2 millennia that we see the rise of new breeds of domestic cattle, pigs, sheep, and goats that would slowly replace the need for hunting throughout the Near East. In our next episode, we'll chart the emergence of these breeds and watch as communities came to rely on dedicated farming economies for survival.
Wow.
Around this time, the importance of Göbekli
Because that's like when they started like trading back and forth and stuff like that. Damn.
Tepe and its associated
And that's where bread actually became bread, if you know what I'm saying, bruh.
animal symbology began to decline. Later enclosures at its site were built on a much smaller scale than their precursors, and slowly lost much of their animal symbology in favour of communal grain processing activity.
No, bruh. That's just one that, like, that's what they telling you in the books to help you forget about the Illuminati, bruh. Like, that's why over time they were like, oh, we're really like super different from like the people we used to be and stuff like that spiritually and whatever. Because like, and they're like, these eyes are really T's and they really don't mean anything. Right, guys? Like, it's just like agricultural and stuff and things. Like, bruh. Like, so obvious.
Soon the world's oldest known temple would be buried and forgotten. In its place, new ritual practices would emerge, centered on buildings set at the heart of their respective communities. Human skulls, already a prized object, increasingly became the focus of a cult that spanned the entire Near East, wherein the features of the deceased would be remodeled in plaster and kept as ceremonial items. Finally, around the end of the pre-pottery Neolithic, we see the emergence of what can only be termed mega-sites, capable of housing people on an unprecedented scale.
Dang.
We'll discuss all these and more.
Like 100
next
people?
time.
Like thousands. I'd assume like, like at least like 16 people or something. But like, because like those cities are big probably, but I'm not like, you know, I don't really live in a BC or nothing. So, I wouldn't know or nothing. But, yeah, guys, that's it for the video. I stream on Twitch. You could probably catch me, live reacting to this on Twitch or whatever, and like playing RuneScape and stuff. OSRS, join up, hit me up, do anything. I'll probably upload the next part of the octopus video very soon, so stay tuned. Hashtag keep learning and doing stuff.